Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're cracking the code on a brand new, pretty exciting certification, the AWS Certified AI Practitioner. We're going to walk through what it is, what's on the exam, and what it really takes to succeed, all based on a deep dive with an expert instructor. So let's get right into it.
Okay, right off the bat, let's just get some real talk from the instructor. This quote here, it is absolutely crucial. See, this certification is a fantastic, really structured way to learn, but it's not a magic ticket to a job. It teaches you how to use all the cool AI and ML tools on AWS, but it kind of assumes you already have some other foundational skills. And that's the key takeaway here. Before you even start down this path, you really need to be solid on the basics. I'm talking about things like programming, a little bit of scripting, SQL, networking fundamentals, even some project management. So think of this certification as a goalpost for your AI learning journey, not the entire race itself.
So, with that little reality check in mind, let's take a look at the actual exam. AWS gives you an exam guide, which is basically the map of everything they expect you to know. The exam is broken down into 4 main areas. You've got your fundamentals of AI and ML, which we'll get into. Then, look at this, 40%, a huge chunk, is all about generative AI applications. But notice the other 2 big pieces, responsible AI. That's all about fairness, bias, and transparency, and security, which is about protecting the data and the models. The heavy focus on Gen AI, well, that tells you how up-to-date this certification is. But including responsibility and security, that shows it's really built for the real world, for serious enterprise-level work.
So let's build this thing from the ground up, starting with those fundamentals. Before you can play with all of AWS's powerful AI toys, you gotta speak the language of machine learning. This section is all about building that foundation.
Okay, so 2 of the most basic concepts you'll run into are supervised and unsupervised learning. Supervised learning is where you train a model on data that's already been labeled. Think of it like this. You show a computer thousands of pictures that you've labeled cat so it can learn to spot a new one. It's used for things like classification. Now, unsupervised learning is the opposite. It works with messy, unlabeled data. Here, the goal isn't to predict a specific label, but to find hidden patterns. Like, say, grouping your customers into different segments for marketing.
You're going to hear the term model a million times. So what the heck is it? Well, put simply, a machine learning model is just a function. It's the final product of all your training. It takes in some new data, runs it through the algorithm it's learned, and then spits out a prediction. It's the engine that makes the whole thing go.
All right, now for the part of the curriculum that's getting all the buzz, generative AI. This is where we get into the tech that's powering the tools that are literally changing the world as we speak.
At the very heart of Gen AI are what we call foundational models. These things are enormous, general-purpose models that have been pre-trained on just staggering amounts of data. We're talking text, images, code, you name it. They aren't built for just one little task. Instead, they act as this incredibly powerful base that you can then fine-tune for hundreds of different things, from writing your emails to generating computer code.
So how do these giant models actually do what they do? Well, the key innovation is something called the transformer architecture. This is a perfect example of how fast AI moves. It was developed by researchers at Google and published in this famous 2017 paper called Attention is All You Need. And this is the exact architecture that made models like ChatGPT possible.
Let's break down how a transformer thinks, super quick. First, it takes your input text. Second, it chops that text up into smaller pieces called tokens. That's tokenization. Third, a part called the encoder reads all these tokens at once to understand the context and how all the words relate to each other. And finally, the decoder uses that understanding to generate a totally new, coherent output, one word at a time. It's that ability to see the whole picture at once that makes it so incredibly powerful.
All right, we've covered a lot of theory. Now let's connect it to the real world. The certification is going to test you on a whole suite of AWS services that bring all this AI tech to life. This is your AWS AI toolbox.
And trust me, AWS has managed AI services to solve pretty much any problem you can think of. As you can see here, if you have a vision task like analyzing images, boom, you'll use Amazon Rekognition. If you need to turn text into really lifelike speech, you've got Amazon Polly. And for building a super intelligent search for your company's documents, there's Amazon Kendra. The exam expects you to know not just what these services are, but when and why you'd use each one.
And that brings us to our final and maybe our most important section. Let's circle all the way back to that first quote and talk about what it really takes to be job ready in this field.
This is honestly the perfect way to think about it. The true value of the AI Practitioner Cert isn't the piece of paper you get. It's the journey it forces you to take. It gives you a structured, guided path through a really complex subject with a clear goal at the end. It's a fantastic framework for learning.
But that learning, it doesn't just stop when you pass the exam. Not even close. According to the instructor, to become truly job-ready, you need an additional 250 to 500 hours of hands-on learning. This is where you're building real projects, getting your hands dirty with messy data, and really sharpening those developer skills we talked about at the very beginning.
So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this one question. Is this certification a finish line, or is it a starting block? The way you answer that, well, that's going to define your entire career journey in the incredible, fast-moving world of AI. Thanks so much for tuning in.